Worlds. Okay, we're going to do a TGI Worlds update in this video. I talked a little bit about it during Hotline League, but there's been some comments afterwards. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about my approach to Worlds, sort of the financial situation that TGI is in. We'll give an update. I did one of these, a couple months ago? Was it 6 weeks ago? I don't know. Some point in time a while ago, I talked about how sponsorships and stuff are going. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why some people hate that I'm doing Magic the Gathering stuff now. So let's talk a little bit about my history covering Worlds. So back in 2018, I dropped out of covering, I think, semifinals and finals. Maybe it was MSI, whatever. At international events, I started to not attend the semifinals and finals because these events, especially at Worlds, they're like 5 weeks long. Do me a favor and think a little bit about the expenses of being in another country for 5 weeks with you and another person like a producer. And one of the challenges in semifinals and finals is that there's like 3 days of matches over the course of 2 weeks, right? Because you're doing like what used to be called groups, and then pretty quickly after that you get to quarters, and then you have a whole week, and then on one weekend you have semifinals, and then the following week you have a whole week, and then you have finals. So it's like really just 3 matches in this 2 week period. Last year, I was able to do all of those stops because they were in the US, so it was a lot more affordable, and I could hop back to LA and save some money. And also because we had partners and sponsors that we were doing live versions of Hotline League in all these different cities. And so I was going to go to them regardless, right? Because we were able to sell that in, so costs were covered. It was great. For this year's Worlds, we are not only going to have to skip out on semifinals and finals, but I also will not be able to do quarters and all of Swiss. We're going to do some Swiss. Why is this? Well, we looked and looked and looked for a sponsor to help be a coverage partner for us for Worlds, and we weren't able to find one. A big part of this is because of the state of the economy, where a lot of budgets for marketing teams have just been cut a little bit, and so people just have less money to throw around. But another big thing is when we talked to a lot of brands, they were like, hey, it's kind of weird for us to sponsor this event that is taking place in the middle of the night in the US, because they're North American brands. They care about North American audience. And I think for them, it's like, we're not sure how to approach this. Whether or not you think that's fair or whatever, I'll leave that up to you. But I can understand why some brands are like, we're really used to sponsoring stuff that is taking place in the US, or at least during this time zone. And it's weird to be like, hey, this thing's happening at like 2 a.m. It's just a strange situation. So we looked around, we couldn't find a sponsor to cover it, and so we made the difficult decision to pull back. Now, what I could have done is just said, hey, I'm not covering Worlds this year. I don't have a sponsor. We're not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I like covering Worlds. I like doing these interviews. I like going to these events. I really like Korea. I love Korea. It's been something I've been looking forward to all year, is going back to Korea. It's the Mecca of esports. It's just a really cool spot to have Worlds, and every time I go there for Worlds or MSI or whatever, I have a great time. So I've made the decision to kind of fund this out of pocket. I'm not doing a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe or anything like that because I just don't really feel like it's necessary. There's a lot of other people, like Ashley Kang's a great example, who are going to be providing this coverage. I haven't talked to Degon yet, but there's a chance that maybe he's going to some of it. There will be other interviews and other ways to cover it, and so I don't really feel like I need to go out and ask a bunch of people for money in order to do this. It's just not the way I feel comfortable going about it. I do want to say that we're still looking around for people to sponsor individual videos, so there might be a world where you'll see like a general YouTube video sponsor on some of these interviews. That will help offset some of the costs for me. It won't actually cover all the costs most likely, but you might still see some of that. But what we won't have is like hey, TGI Worlds coverage is brought to you by X company, and here's the tweets, and here's like the live hotline leagues we're going to do, and here's sort of the special branded stuff, kind of what you saw for us last year. Now, when I explained all of this on Hotline League this week, I saw some, maybe it was in Twitch chat, but also in some of the YouTube comments, some reactions, and I'm going to display 2 of them here. So the first one is from Christian, and Christian says, I mean, it's kind of your job to go to Worlds, dude, ... Like you're not blowing thousands of dollars to make content, ... Sounds like you do just burn all your money on Magic cards, then cry because you don't have money. Just to be clear to Christian, it does cost thousands of dollars to create this content if I want to go to another country. Maybe this person has not ever traveled internationally, but I just booked flights today for myself and Drew to go over there, and it's going to be about $3,500 just in flights. I know this is usually whatever some people show up in the comments and they're like, oh, I could have gotten a flight for $700. Yes, I get it. We need to travel on certain days. We need to travel from certain airports. I promise you that I was trying to find ways to save money. I could have sent Drew on a 27-hour flight process by sending him to the Philippines, and I considered that. That would have saved me about $300, but I am trying not to have him do a twit longer about me. So we spent the $300. So there's some cost savings there. I didn't end up getting those. Anon11976 says, Travis's explanation of his Worlds coverage without a sponsor makes no sense. Does he actually not make enough money throughout the year with Twitch subs, other regular sponsors, ad revenue, etc., that he can't plan around Worlds that occurs every year without an additional sponsorship eating up the cost? Even if he does need to pull from his personal accounts, it's not like he won't be writing off every penny he can off as a business expense, still making money on ad revenue and selling impressions if he secures the video sponsors he mentioned. He shouldn't be as deep in the red that he's completely losing out. I've owed a small business you can write off so much that you're showing zero revenue if you do it right. I know international travel and lodging is expensive, but I have a hard time believing Travis really is as strapped for cash as he claims. So first off, reading this comment made me think of, I've never seen this show, but I think it's called Schitt's Creek. There's a clip here. I'll just have Drew put it in.
Do you even know what a write-off is?
Yeah. It's when you buy something for your business and the government pays you back for it.
Oh, and who pays for it?
Nobody. You write it off.
Who writes it off?
I don't know. The write-off people. What? Why are we having this conversation?
So yeah, that's not, you can't just write off. Write-offs doesn't mean things are free. You still have to spend the money. You just don't pay taxes on that. So yes, it's true that I will be writing off my travel expenses, but that doesn't make the costs suddenly go away or something like that. The other thing is, like, I thought the idea of, hey, you could write off so much stuff that it makes your revenue go to zero. I think that is either called tax fraud, or like maybe the reason that your small business you wrote was in past tense is that if you're really making so little money that you have to, all of it gets written off, that doesn't sound like a business that's actually profitable. So I get there are tax loopholes and stuff like that. I think that's kind of a goofy thing to say. Setting aside all of that, I want to be transparent in these videos, and I've tried to be. In fact, you can go look at this video that I did earlier this year where I've talked about this, and I am interested in being more transparent in TGI finances and the way this works. So the sort of unfortunate thing that I will tell all of you is that it looks like, and we'll see how sponsorship goes through the rest of the year, but it looks like TGI revenue is going to be down about 75% year over year from 2022 to 2023. Part of that was last year was a phenomenal year for us because we did have Worlds in North America, and we were able to bring in revenue around all that. So we had Chipotle and Amazon come in around Worlds exclusively, and then Grubhub sponsored us throughout the year, and then they also came in to do something around Hotline League Live. Last year we also had Spotify, and we don't have them right now. And then Alienware this year is just sponsoring a little less content with us, which is fine. We love them. They're a great partner, and I'm happy they're still around after all this time. People can't usually maintain partnerships for that long, but it does just mean that we've had to cut back. And when you look at the channel, we have unfortunately not been able to afford as much as we did last year. So not only do we not have live Hotline League for summer finals and for Worlds, but we also don't have Blame Game. Rift Reaction, which we were doing with Spotify, is gone. So there's just been a lot that is gone. And to be clear, I think folks need to remember that there's kind of like a bare minimum floor that my business operates at, right? Which is the amount of money that I need to pay myself to be able to live in Los Angeles, Mark to do Hotline League, Drew, who works with me on the production side, and some other folks who help out with different edits and different projects and stuff like that around. I can't... if we are going below that number, then the business is then losing money. So that is kind of where we are at. And when we talk about Worlds every day, I think it's probably about $500 to $750 a day to be in Korea whenever you average out the cost of hotel rooms for 2 people, the flights, I need to pay Drew for his time, Obviously, I'm hopefully making money, but maybe not. I may be losing money on that for myself. So that is kind of where we're at. I'm sure, again, some people are going to rush in the comments and be like, I could live in Korea for $150. Yes. Here's the thing. We have to be in hotels that are near the venue, that have solid internet. We can't just like look around for always the best possible deal or to share a hotel room. We have thousands of dollars of equipment that we bring with us, so we can't stay in some sort of like hostel or whatever. There's just kind of a situation we need to be in. And I think when I first started doing esports, I was able to really go super, super cheap. And in fact, I accrued a lot of credit card debt doing that. I don't want anyone to think that like I got into esports because I'm like, yo, let's make a ton of money in League of Legends. When I got in, that was not a thing. I was doing this as like a passion project. And so anybody who thinks that I'm just here to like money bags out, I think needs to have a better understanding of what the first couple of years looked like for me in the career. So the thing that I'm going to say here is like, I know a lot of people don't understand how YouTube revenue works or whatever, but we just are not going to make back that much money going to Worlds without a partner. And here's the thing. I think we provide a lot of value to sponsors or partners who are interested in partnering with us for Worlds. We adjust the amount of money that they pay us based off of what I estimate those impressions to be. But the sort of weird truth that I don't know if I've ever talked about is like Worlds these days does not get a lot of impressions for my audience. I think a lot of that is that my audience is primarily North American. Worlds events, other than last year, almost always happen at times where North America cannot watch. And North America as a region usually leaves the event pretty early. Hopefully this year's a little different. But when they do, a lot of people are not, the amount of people that will watch like a Sven interview are not the amount of people that will watch an interview with an LPL player that they may not be familiar with. And so staying at the event, oftentimes, like those impressions just kind of go down over time. So it's all these things that have led me to decide I'm not going to cover Worlds as much as I did previously. That being said, I am still going. I have decided to still light some money on fire and just do this because I want to. And I like creating the content, and I would feel really sad if I was just at home the entire Worlds and never got a chance to go do this. I want to be there, and I want to create the content for all of you. So that will be there. And the way that I'm targeting this is there are 2 asset days for Worlds. I'm going to try to be there for both of them. And then we'll be there at the beginning of Swiss when everything's going great and the dreams are up. And then when everything starts to go sideways, I will unfortunately no longer be at Worlds. The final thing on the Worlds topic and the money topic is I don't want anyone to think that I'm in some dire trouble. I've been able to save up money, especially from last year, to put myself in a good enough position that I will be okay. That being said, I don't want to go and spend thousands and thousands of dollars out of my savings account at a time where the future looks very uncertain. I am scared. I'm scared because I really like League of Legends esports. I've loved doing this career and the direction that the LCS has headed, and at times a lot of the decisions that Riot has made have made me feel nervous about the future of this product and the future of my career in this specific field. A ton of rascals like to run into the comments and especially on Reddit say things like, Travis is going to have to go get a real job, or I can't wait to see this guy fail whenever League of Legends LCS drops and he's screwed. And I think that's kind of a shitty thing to say, just in general about anyone, is like rooting for them to end up financially destitute or something like that. But setting that aside, I'm very confident I can go do something else, but I might need to, one, use some of that savings later on to cover my own costs if things do go away with the LCS, if Riot decides to cancel it at some point in time or whatever. I also might need some of that money to invest into new projects and to go cover new games or new spaces that I haven't been in before, because I like doing content creation, and there's a world where if I want to keep doing that, I need to do what I did in the beginning of League of Legends and run stuff at a loss for a while I spin stuff up and figure out what I want to do next. So yeah, I will admit that like some of it is I feel nervous about going and dropping a ton of money in a weird environment on Worlds. And I'll just be honest about that. That's kind of where we're at. Finally, let's talk about Magic the Gathering, because a lot of you, I think, are like, oh, he drops all this money on Magic the Gathering, or he's going to do all this. And yeah, guess what? During Worlds, I will be at a couple of Magic the Gathering events. A couple of notes here. One, these events oftentimes, because I'm appearing as a special guest, because I'm so special apparently, that they do help cover some of those costs. And so I don't want you to look at this and be like, oh, Travis can afford to go to all these things, but he can't go to Worlds. Yeah, going to an event in another city in the U.S. is not nearly as much as hanging out in Korea for a very long time. And again, a lot of those costs are offset by the event. The other thing is, if you haven't been paying attention, I've been sponsored through my Magic the Gathering stuff 3 times this year. I was in this Lord of the Rings video, which is on screen now, and then we did a campaign around Lord of the Rings and Wilds of Eldraine, which is the new set that came out. This money is actually helping to offset a lot of the losses that we've had this year. And when when I am going to Worlds and I am spending money, you can argue that the money that I'm spending is the money that I've made from doing Magic the Gathering stuff over the course of this year. So if I will say Magic the Gathering is a net profit for TGI so far in 2023. And so the sort of argument of like, oh, you're doing all this stuff. Yeah, it's actually helping to fund some of the League of Legends content, the unsponsored videos like this one, or like potentially the ones that are in Korea from Worlds. That stuff is being helped out by this Magic the Gathering sponsorship stuff. So here at the end, I want to mention a couple different things. One, I am working on trying to figure out how I can have some Worlds content from Korea occurring while I am not there, because I know some folks that live in Korea and might be able to help create some content. No promises, but I want there to be Worlds content on this channel for the people who want it during the stages I can't get to. We'll see how it goes. I'm talking to people. I can't make any promises, but I want you to know that I'm trying, all right? Because I want this. Second, I want to give my schedule for those that would like to meet me at some of these events or see me at Worlds. So from October 13th and 14th, I'm going to be in Portland at Command Fest Portland if people are interested in Magic the Gathering stuff. From there, I'm going to fly to Korea. So I'll be in Korea for a couple days before Swiss for the asset days that Riot does, where we can go in and interview the players. And I'll also be at Swiss for almost all of it. I'm going to be leaving in the middle of the second week of Swiss to get back in town and do all that stuff. Then I will be at Magic Summit in Salt Lake City. So if you live in that area and like to come out and play Magic with me, I'm going to be doing stuff there, playing Commander games. That is the 26th through the 29th. I'm looking at going to BlizzCon the following weekend. We'll see if I can get in there. I don't know if Blizzard will hook it up or not, but I will be around. Oh, and then after Worlds is over, November 20th and 21st, I'll be at DragonSteelCon for Brandon Sanderson stuff. So I will be around if people would like to hang out with me. I just wanted to address this because I think there's a lot of confusion around some of the stuff, and I think people unfortunately look at me being willing to blow some money of my savings and to go to Worlds and actually have the opposite assessment, which is like, oh, Travis doesn't care about League of Legends, or he doesn't want to do this, or he's scamming us or whatever. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to be more transparent in this video, and hopefully that addresses folks' concerns. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this. We will have Worlds coverage even after I get back from Korea. We're going to keep doing Hotline League. We'll try to get some special guests on there, and we'll continue to create some good World stuff. But quite frankly, the secret is the off-season coverage is the real thing that keeps things afloat in Q4, and hopefully we'll have some good stuff for you there too. So anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching. You can check out the links in the description if you want to support me. Other than that, we'll catch you later.